Hey guys, it's Neat2 up here, and welcome to Black Dude Reviews, a show hosted by a black dude who's not getting a Nintendo Switch 2. Welcome to the Famicom Disk System, an exclusive Japanese addition to the Famicom which runs on floppy disks instead of cartridges, allowing for easier implementations of save features and can also help increase the audio quality of certain games. The first Super Mario Bros. Game did astronomically well, and was and still is one of Nintendo's best-selling video games ever. It was the most sold game for the NES, and it, alongside Nintendo and the NES, had a huge role to play in making video games popular again after the 1983 video game crash. Its soundtrack, graphics, and gameplay would be very fondly remembered and appreciated for years to come, and even modern-day gamers respect this game for what it was. So of course, after the overwhelming success of the first game, Nintendo had to make a good sequel to satisfy the hungry haters, I mean gamers. And so they released Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Famicom Disk System, known internationally as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. When it was time to release the game internationally to Europe and the US, the game was rejected by both regions for two main reasons. One reason was that the game was too similar to the first game and didn't expand the formula significantly, and the other reason was that this game was too difficult and they didn't presume that people would have any fun playing such a difficult game. I mean, I think it's understandable to think that gamers, especially new gamers, wouldn't have a fun time with a game that was intentionally made to be hard. More on that later. After all, they did just go through a video game market crash. So let's see what exactly Howard Phillips, and ultimately Nintendo of America, spared us from, as we review Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels for the Famicom Disk System. Fun fact, the title Lost Levels is from the 1993 Super Nintendo game Super Mario All-Stars, which packaged the four classic Mario games, including this one, and titled it Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. It was the first time this game was officially released outside of Japan. Now let's talk about the game. The first time I played this game was on the Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch console, but I never actually beat it until this very review. Of course, for this review, I did use an emulator, but to make it legitimate, the only save states that were used were automatic saves that the emulator occasionally would make, specifically autosaves from closing the emulator. I didn't manually make any save states to redo parts I was having trouble on, so I think I can say that I 99% beat this game legitimately. This game recycles the formula from the first game in that you need to lead Mario to the end of the level and touch the flagpole to finish it. There are 8 main worlds, and at the end of every world is a castle level. At the end of every castle level is Bowser, who gets defeated the exact same way as before. The Super Mushroom, Fire Flower, and Starman are back in this game too, but good luck actually finding them regularly in the later worlds. Some levels, and I mean 2 levels in the initial 8 worlds, happen underground, and other levels, and I mean 2 levels in the initial 8 worlds, happen underwater. Nice variety. Speaking of variety, all the enemies from the first game return in this game. There are also variations of old enemies too, like red piranha plants that pop out faster and more often than green ones, different colors of Koopas, bloopers that can apparently survive and fly out of waters, Hammer Brothers that chase you in the later levels, and Bowser's brother, who I think is just here for filler. Really, there aren't that many unique enemies and drastic visual changes in this game. Some of the graphics have changed since last game, but they're not really anything to write home about either. Oh, it's also worth noting that Luigi's back in this game. However, there's no more 2-player mode. Rather, there's a Mario game and a Luigi game. Luigi jumps higher than Mario, but has very bad traction and is only recommended to play as if you want a bigger challenge than this game already offers. Mario controls the same as he did in the first game. After beating Bowser's brother and then Bowser himself in 8-4, the game's over. Or so it makes you think. Peach appears, there's a poem, and a bunch of toads start appearing next to Mario and Peach. Don't really know what this is supposed to signify, but okay. And if you beat the game without using any warps, yes, they're back too, and yes, there are some that take you back worlds, you get to play World 9. And regardless of how many lives you ended out with when you beat the game, you have only 1 life to beat the entirety of World 9. Also, apparently if you do beat World 9, which I've never done, it sends you to 9-1, and the world just keeps looping until you die. That's great game design. In addition to that big idea, there are more additional worlds in this game. Worlds A to D. In order to access those worlds, you have to beat this game 8 times.
What? What the f***?
Now, as much as I'd like to write a 500-word double-space size 12 Times New Roman MLA-style essay about how obscenely ridiculous and stupid that is, I'm sure some random person on the internet has already done that. I mean, I am pretty late to the game when it comes to criticizing this game, but I honestly do not care. I'm just going to say it. I don't like this game. First off, the game is just too similar to the first game to make it that much distinguishable from it, and it isn't very impressive for a sequel. Sequels should take the first game's formula and build upon it, expand upon it, but this game doesn't do that. Well, it kinda does, but not in a well-designed way. I don't think anyone would call it good design to play through a game 8 times in order to access extra content in it. It's what we call fake longevity. Well, in the All-Stars port, you just have to beat it once. But honestly, that's the one version of the game I would actually recommend playing, because that version also has a save feature. This one doesn't. But at least when you get a game over, you can resume from the start of the world you got a game over on by pressing continue. Now, just because I recommend the All-Stars port over the FDS port doesn't make that port of the game any short of platform hell I've ever seen in an official video game. And not for good reasons either. Before I get to those reasons, I first want to show you this 1-up trick in 1-1 to get a bunch of lives to prepare you for what's to come. If you get the super mushroom by making it bounce out of the house, then break these 4 blocks and leave the Koopa Troopa on this block here, then jump on it, you can start racking up points and eventually lives. Though try to keep track of how many lives you actually get, because if your lives counter exceeds 128, which you won't really know by looking at it, the lives count will start going to negative numbers, and when you die, you'll automatically get a game over. So after performing the trick, I recommend doing a test death, and if your lives counter is a glitchy mess, that means it worked. But even with that trick, if you thought the first game was hard, which boy did I, you're in for a very rude awakening when this game kicks you in your throat. This game takes the philosophy of difficult equals fun and multiplies it tenfold. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was having anything but fun while I was playing this game. I was having paranoia, fear, dread, anxiety, frustration, anger, disgust. I was not feeling any positive emotions while playing this game. Well, except for the end, but of course I did, it's the end. One of the many things that makes this game so unforgiving is how strict the law of the timing and jumps are. Some jumps only give you pixels of leeway over bottomless pits, which really make my nerves calm. Not to mention some parts where you have to take leaps of faith, onto a short Koopa with little leeway to jump on, who sometimes isn't in the right position it needs to be to make the jump, over a bottomless pit. Great design. What's also great design is how inconsistent some of the enemies and hazards in some of the levels can be. I come here once, there's a blooper. I come here again, there's no blooper. I come here once, there's a Koopa. I come here again, there's no Koopa. I come here once, there's a Lakitu. I come here again, there's no Lakitu. When you make it so that there's no learning curve to beating the level because something in the level's just gonna change the next time you play through it, that's not good design. Yeah, some of these obstacles I listed are pretty minor, but it's still frustrating once you notice them. As if you're not frustrated enough playing through and having to put up with this brutally designed game. There are also times where you can just get trapped by many enemies, rendering death inescapable, like here in this water level, and here in this above water level with these cheap trying to finish what they started in the previous level. You know how at the gym you have to make every rep count? In Lost levels, you have to make every life count, because you never know when a cheap can jump up and bite you in the A-double snakes, and just like that, down 1 life. And another thing I hate about this game is that it doesn't fix any issues from the first game. In fact, they make the issues worse with levels that don't work with Mario's control, those annoying puzzle levels that are more sensitive with which way you have to go, and these levels with cheeps that fly out of the ground that I complained about in the first game. Speaking of levels that don't work with Mario's control, I already talked about how awful the pixel perfect jumps are, but there's another annoying aspect of this game that appears in certain levels: wind. Seriously, this jump in 5-1 when the wind kicks in is one of the most awkward and most precise jumps in the game, because you have to build up speed in order to make the jumps following it. And it's not super easy to go from walking to running in Mario when you only have 2 blocks of space to do it. So many jumps in this game are just so awkward to perform, and it makes me feel like I need to know Mario's controls down to its exact science in order to know how to properly position Mario to succeed. It's so disgusting. Also, 7-3 is one of the worst designed levels in the entire game. I have to jump on these springs that send me 7 million feet into the air and go to the next spring platform, which is narrow as heck. And I have no clue where exactly Mario is, so there's a big chance that once he's back on the screen, he's falling to his death. And Mario isn't exactly the most mobile person to control in the air either, so I can only assume where Mario is when he's not on the screen. Also, the leeway to make it past Bowser in 7-4 is devilishly small. I found out that the strategy was just to jump past him, but look at that jump! I should have died there! Was the strategy the devs intended people to do to come as Super Mario and get hit by him once? Cause if so, that's just mean. Because World 8 isn't exactly a forgiving part of the game either. Also, by the way, finding invisible blocks like this to advance is not fun to do. And if there's an invisible block that costs you your life, that's even more frustrating. Leading me to another point. I hate how sometimes this game hides the exit from you, whether that be through invisible blocks, a pipe you need to go down, or those stupid castle mazes. And another thing that bothers me is how sometimes this game just punishes you for exploring. It's so cheap. And the fact that there are warp zones that take you backwards is so mean. Once again, punishment for exploring. And then in later levels, it expects you to explore in order to find the right path to beat the level. That's just straight up deception. And another thing that makes me really not like this game is that it adds almost nothing significantly new to the Mario games. It doesn't even change the story at all. Yeah, there are poison mushrooms. Who likes those? Besides those, they didn't add any new enemies to this game. So instead, they recycled old ones and made variants of them that are more annoying, like airborne bloopers. Not even gonna try to make a brand new above ground enemy, just recycle a water enemy because it totally makes sense that squid can survive outside of water and can also fly. Also, are we not gonna talk about how there's fire underwater? So I think by now I made my point pretty clear. Lost Levels is not fun at all. This game comes close to ROM hack levels of difficulty. The game's design does not work with how Mario controls whatsoever, and overall, the game is just mean. From misleading you and deceiving you, to inconsistent platforms and enemies, and super precise jumps with no room for error at all, this game has all sorts of ways to make your life as hard as possible. The only people I see enjoying this game are people who are either masochists or are really hardcore old school Mario fans who also like Kaizo type games. And apparently this game's sheer difficulty was intentional and was the selling point of the game, which makes me despise this game even more. People play video games to have a good time, not to go through hell and back. So I suppose they really did use a philosophy of difficulty equating to fun in designing this game. And even looking past the difficulty, this game adds virtually no good memorable elements to the Mario series as a whole. The international version of Mario 2 added more unique and memorable things to Mario than this game ever did. So ultimately, this game sucks. So with that, I give Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels for the Famicom Disk System a 1 out of 5 stars. I apologize to anyone who stumbled upon this video, and this is your first video seeing of me and read it off as a negative video. But this is actually the first time I gave a classic game such a low rating, and it honestly left such a nasty taste in my mouth to go from the awesome gaming experience that was Mario 3 to such an abomination that is Lost Levels. And what made that taste even worse is that they made this game as hard as it is on purpose. I agree with what Howard Phillips said. This is literal punishment. I got literal headaches playing this game because of how frustrated I was getting. I was literally sweating playing through the last level of this game. This was not fun. This was punishment. Punishment for liking the first game, enjoying it, Wanting more Mario? I understand wanting to give dedicated players more of a challenge, but this game isn't even hard for good reasons. But I've gone on for long enough. Next time, we'll look at a more fun game. The Legend of Zelda for the NES. If you want to see a more positive review that will be of that game, please subscribe. It's quick and easy and you can always change your mind. But besides that, leave a like or leave a dislike. And thanks for watching.